I am a longtime musical theater fan, and I thought that this would just be aimed at small children, but I was blown away by this. I think it's incredibly entertaining for any age.
Oh, thank you. That's maybe my favorite thing to hear.
Yeah, mine too. For the cartoon and whether it applies to the cartoon or the Broadway show, where people go, I thought this was just for kids, but there's deeper levels of here, deeper levels of meaning and sociological thought and deeper levels of dumb and stupid weirdness too, which is also awesome. So yeah, that like Ethan said, that's a high compliment. Thank you.
And Ethan, congratulations on your well-deserved Tony nomination. Um, you did such a great job in this. Your expressions, your dancing, acrobatics, the amount of energy you put into it was incredible. What was your favorite part about playing SpongeBob?
There are maybe too many to name just because playing SpongeBob is, I don't know, this is a phrase that's thrown around a lot, but it really is such a dream role. For me, probably the best part about it was that I got to do it with just the most amazing group of people on stage and off stage. Like, it was actually really unique and weird how close we all were and how much we loved each other. But all of the things that made it hard were also the things that made it great. The thing that, like, it was exhausting. I was pushing myself to my physical limit. I was singing the highest notes that I can sing. And I
While
was
twisting yourself into a pretzel.
I was doing contortion and whatever. And all of those things, like every step of the way was a challenge. So it just flew by. I think every element of it was a dream. The only thing that wasn't a dream is that the theater was being renovated. And so even though we were getting great audiences and everyone was loving it, and we had to close a little early, but it's on DVD now, so you can watch it anytime. That's my plug.
Right. That was a weird, situation where you guys knew that you were losing that theater at a certain date, right?
Mm-hmm.
And no matter how successful the show is, it's kind of got to end on that date. And it wasn't open ended. But to me, that kind of makes it more special, is that it's kind of this flower that bloomed for a certain amount of time.
Yeah.
And it wasn't, the Broadway version wasn't filmed ever, as far as I know, was it, Ethan?
For Lincoln Center, but only archival purposes.
Right. They do that. Right. They do those. It's almost like a library a version of it, But yeah, it had to be remounted, and they had to get the band back together for this DVD release version. And wow, I saw what an undertaking it was, and also how physically exhausting it was, particularly for Ethan, but other people in the show too. I mean, it's hard for everybody all around, but Ethan in particular was, this torture, I'm sure exhilarating, but also kind of torturous role where, you're replicating a world where the rules of physics don't apply, you know what I mean? And what a human body can do isn't a concern on a cartoon. Whatever you can draw, it can do. And, Ethan had to be the human equivalent of that, which I just saw both him and the other actors in the musical, what that took to do it. And then I just pictured doing that multiple times a week, sometimes multiple times a day. And it's, brutal, you know what I mean? It's exhilarating, like I said, I'm sure, but it's the opposite of easy.
Tom, when did you first hear that SpongeBob would be made into a musical, and how did you get cast as Patchy the Pirate?
Well, couple of answers there. There had been other discussions and attempts at turning SpongeBob into a stage show that kind of went a certain distance, and then it just didn't work out, or Steve Hillenburg would go, I'm not feeling this, and he would put the kibosh on it, a veto stamp, and then this one started to be bandied about, and I think the people involved in it, Tina Landau and the various musical writers, the people that contributed songs and the cast, and then it started to roll along in a way that Steve really liked and got really excited about. That's when I knew it was going to be really good, was when he became enthused about it. It was like, And so what was the second question? There was there was two parts.
How did you get cast as Patchy the
Oh,
Pirate?
yes. Oh, Patchy is on the show, on the cartoon in a live action sense. He's in the show. He's the world's biggest SpongeBob fan, president of the SpongeBob fan club, and he hosts like holiday specials and clip shows and stuff like that. Like we just shot one under pandemic in my house with my son running the camera because they couldn't have anybody in the house. Of like, let's look at SpongeBob's spookiest moments, number 10. That was all shot in my garage. And so there was a really talented actor. I believe it was John Rua, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, John Rua on Broadway played the part of Patchy. And then for this, they were like, oh, it would be kind of a cool Easter egg to have Tom do Patchy. So that's how it happened. I'm basically a Easter egg in a pirate outfit.
Ethan, since Tom has been voicing the role for over 20 years, did he give you any tips?
Oh, I think the best tip that he gave me was not to wear yellow. At opening night parties. I've stuck by that as really, really helpful advice.
Because Tina Landau usually did.
She did, yeah. Well, she
had yellow covered. She had the yellow thing covered.
Absolutely, and she wore it better than me. No, but I think that the best tips that I got. Okay, I would say a couple of things from Tom. One is just I absorbed as much of his voice acting from the TV show as possible. I just watched his work and took in sort of the ethos that he gave that character, and that was my research base. So in that way, I owe the whole thing to him. I mean, in a million ways I do, but that's one of them. The other thing that I think was really great advice that he gave me was actually just came in a statement. And actually, you've referred to this at another point that I keep on meaning to point out is at that opening night party in Chicago, you were like, I'm realizing now that we're like two James Bonds,
Yeah.
James Bond, James's Bond. We're James's Bond.
We're James. We have a special James Bond between us.
Yeah,
but, yeah.
But I think that there's something really like important to me about that. It's like, oh right, the character of SpongeBob is like this discrete set of traits in some ways, but it's also what we bring to him, and so that was really helpful.
And you were a good James Bond. You weren't like George Lazenby James Bond. You were like, yeah.
Thank you. Oh, that's so touching.
Yeah, you're not the Roger Moore of SpongeBob.
So I heard that Broadway is shut down until May 2021, and I was just wondering, for both of you, have you had any projects delayed, whether it's shows, stage shows, TV, film, delayed because of COVID?
Yeah, I was in rehearsal for the Classic Stage Company's revival of Assassins.
Cool.
Going to be directed by John Doyle. Is going to be, and when theater comes back, we are going to be hopefully coming back with it. And so that was really heartbreaking. We were 2 weeks into rehearsal, and it was just this like magical show that we were like just all feeling so excited about. And that was cut short. I've had a couple of projects, unfortunately, that have fallen through because of COVID. So it's been a very weird experience to be preparing for 8 months of sort of steady work and end up with 8 months of what I'm calling a creative incubation period, where doing a lot of working very hard and every day and making things and writing and all of that, but it's it's not what we were expecting.
In terms of animation, like I'm lucky, really lucky to have bumbled into kind of one of the only areas of show business that can continue a pace, right? Like animation is one of the only products, entertainment products, where everybody, every step along the pipeline can kind of do it from home, and the end product looks the same as it did. Like getting there is a lot different, like how you make it and stuff like that. But at the end of the day, when the Lucille Ball, chocolate it gets to the end of the conveyor belt, it looks like cartoons used to, unlike sitcoms or talk shows or whatever that all look different. So in some ways it's opened up. Like I'm busier than ever because And another thing is that I have, you know, a man with no technical aptitude whatsoever has had to learn how to record from home and have his own home studio, which I never had. And, you know, you're kind of being your own engineer and editor in a much greater way than I ever wanted to be before. Everything takes way longer, and I'm an Amish caveman. It's a drag, but it's like, the minor quibbles, I gotta say. But the one thing that pandemic delay that I've dealt with is that there was supposed to be a SpongeBob feature. The third SpongeBob movie was supposed to come out in May. Then it got changed to June, then July, then August. And now it's going to be CBS streaming early 2021, they say. So really that's kind of the main thing that's been held up for me. Like in terms of, since people weren't able to make live action stuff for so long, animation product was just cranked up, like Netflix and all these people were just doing so much stuff that it's crazy. So it's kind of weird that way. Like I'm kind of a weird anomaly amongst my performer friends.
But that's great for you. And Ethan, hope to see you in many more things. Thank you both so much for talking to me today and for this show. It's incredibly fun.
I love it. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
I appreciate that.
Bye. See you.
Thanks so much. I appreciate it, Alexandra.